Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a pin review. I've had several requests for a pin review, so I thought I'd go ahead and do the ones here. Just to show you what we're going to be looking at here, the big functions are going to be the name, sizes of the pin, color, waterproof, hand smudging, marker smudging, ghosting, smoothness of it, ink flow, lifespan, enjoyment, and notes. So I'm going to be starting with the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pins. I have a set of 4 here, and I believe that the sizes are small, fine, medium, and brush, but I'm not 100% sure because it just says those letters. This set I got from Amazon, and I actually had thought I'd lost the other small pin that I had, but I ended up finding it, so now I just have this awesome little set here, and I figured I'd use it to review with you guys. So these are the pins, and for the majority of my bullet journal videos you probably see me using the size small. And this is the pin that I used for most of my outlines, and for some of the writing, especially the ones where I do the faux calligraphy, I like to use this pin, and then I tend to use this larger brush, or now I might use the medium to make those darker lines for that faux calligraphy. So you can see the sizes and the differences. Looking back on this, I probably wouldn't do the color there because I don't have any pins that have a different color other than black. I know there are some that you can get in different colors. I think that the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pins also come in different colors. So I want to go ahead and test the waterproofing, hand smudge, and the marker smudge. For the water test, I'm just going to use one of my little water pins you saw, and then just using a hand smudge. And then I'm going to use the same mild liner pin for all of them, just so that there's no difference in coloration. The ghosting is pretty minimal, and overall I think that the Faber-Castell holds up to these tests, and I really do enjoy them. The next pin is the Uniball Fine Liner, and it comes in a myriad of sizes: 0.05, 0.01, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, and 0.8. I don't know that you need to get the entire set, because honestly, using a 0.05 and a 0.01, maybe even the 0.2 sometimes, is just a little bit too small for bullet journaling. I overall really like this pin, and I think where it does come on a downfall is the Uni pin is supposed to be waterproof, but as you can even see on screen, it is not very waterproof. It does great with the hand smudge and the marker test, but there's no waterproofing, so I don't know if it needs 24 hours to dry and then it's waterproof, but this would definitely not be a pen that I would go to use if I was going to be doing a lot of heavy watercoloring. The ghosting is really not that bad, and comparing it to the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen is kind of difficult. So overall, I think it's a good pen, not one that I would like to use whenever I'm using water. And the only other thing that I really noted was it didn't seem to be as dark as the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen, but overall still a good pen, I think. The next pin that I'm going to be reviewing is the Tombow Futanesco pin, and it is a brush pin, and overall this is a really good pin if you are familiar with writing with a brush pen. If you're not, then I would recommend working on it overall before you really get going in your bullet journal. It did amazing on the waterproofing, hand smudge, and the marker test. It was probably the best one for that, honestly. Even better than the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen. So I do think this is one that I would totally use in my bullet journal, potentially more frequently now, if I can just really practice my calligraphy with it. I do think that the ghosting was probably a little bit more than the Faber-Castell or the Unipin Fine Liner, but overall, really, again, not that bad of a ghosting problem. This next pin is definitely one of my favorite pins, and I use it quite a bit. It is the Pentel Energel in 0.5. That's the size that I typically use the most. It also comes in a 0.7. I don't use it as much just because it is a little bit thicker. This pin is available in a blue, but I tend to use black more frequently. As you can see, all my pins are black. It is a great pen because I enjoy writing with it. It does not do well with the waterproofing. It certainly doesn't do great with that. As a hand smudge, it does pretty good for it. So this might be a great pen for those left-handed people out there who are looking for a gel pen. And for the marker, it's very minimal as well. Ghosting is maybe, I would say this one probably ends up being one of the worst pens for ghosting, especially when I review all of them. I think it's one of the worst ones. But what it balances off with is just the enjoyment of writing with it. So I really would recommend this pen to use, especially if you're looking for something that you don't have to worry about the point of the pen messing up. The next pen is the Muji Pin, and I really wanted to love this pen. It is in a 0.38, so it's a pretty fine tip pen, so if you really like fine tips, then that is definitely a great way to go. The biggest issue that I have had with it is that the actual ball on it has popped out in a couple of the pens where I had a lot of ink left. So that was a problem that bothered me. It doesn't do great with waterproof, but it does do really well with the hand smudge and marker. So I do think it would be an okay pen for the bullet journal, but not one that I'll probably use too much just because I've had a couple of those mechanical issues. And it's definitely lighter than the Pentel Inner Gel pen, so this might be another way for you to go if you're wanting to use a gel pen and not a fine liner for some of your writing in your bullet journal. The next set of pens that I have here are the graphic liner marker pens, and I really loved these at the beginning. They come in a nice little stylish case. They come in a 0.5, 0.2, 0.05, 0.3, and a 0.8, and I really like them. The only problem is that I have had with these is that as I was writing with them, I found that my tip of the pen actually started to squish down, and I'll grab the other pen to show you that I don't really use that much, and you can see the difference in how much more of that ink pen sticks out, or the nib sticks out. And so that was a big problem for me, and the reason that I may not purchase these pens again, because I feel like I have to write on the actual point of this pen to actually use it and not get a funny line with it. Other than that, I really like these pens. They are not waterproof, which is also a little bit sad, and so that's where if you're looking for a fine liner type pen, it might be better to go to the Faber-Castell because of that. It does amazing with the hand and marker test. There's no issues with that, but really for me the big part was that tip gets depressed, and as you can see, ghosting is pretty minimal. So the next set of pens that I'm going to be doing is the Copic Multi-Liner, and I got these when I started really getting into trying to doodle, and so I wanted to get some cool Copic pens, or Copic pens, sorry, that would make me feel like an artist, and they come in a multitude of sizes, 0.03, 0.05, 0.1, 0.5, 1, 0.8, and then two different types of brushes. I'm not really sure that I could tell a big difference other than one was a little fatter. Again, way too many sizes, honestly, for really a bullet journal, unless you're doing like really intense doodling in your journal. I don't think normally you would need that. These pens are artist pens, so they do really well with the waterproof. As you saw, I had to go over it twice to make sure I didn't even put anything down on it. I thought I hadn't even put water to it. And a hand smudge, wonderful, as well as the marker smudge. So maybe if you're really artistic in your bullet journal and you're doing a lot of really intricate doodles and adding watercolor or other paints to it, then totally go with the Copic Multi-Liners. They're really not bad on the ghosting. I think these pens are really great, and I might have to use them a little bit more in my bullet journal. I kind of forgot. I kind of have so many pens that I kind of forget the ones that I have and get kind of stuck on using a pen. But overall, these are great pens. The next set of pens that I want to talk about are the Pigma Micron pens, and these I also used for my doodling. They're really popular with Zentangle people, so people who've done Zentangles have probably seen them use them. I really like these pens. I think I had more in this set, but these were the ones that I had left, and so they were pretty small in size. I think they're a little bit too small for me, so I probably won't be using these a lot in my bullet journal. But they did pretty well with the waterproofing, just a little bit of a smudge. I think if you were going to stick with some sort of really intense doodling, I might go up and go ahead and get the Copic multi-liners. The hand smudge again was worse than the multi-liners or the Faber-Castell, and the marker smudge was not too bad, but there still was a little bit. Overall, these pins, the other thing I found with them is that whenever I wrote with them, after a while, I did feel like I had a little depression on one side, so you almost get an angle to the pin. So I don't know if I would probably purchase these again for my bullet journaling. The next pin is going to be the Sakura Pigma Scentsy, and again, these came in a little mini set. I don't remember where I got these. I think I got them at Michael's. The biggest thing that I don't like about them, as you saw there, was that the tip of the one that I like to use the most, which was the 0.4, actually did not do very well with holding up, and so it's totally depressed. It did actually really well, surprisingly well, in my opinion, with the waterproof test. I wasn't expecting those pins to do well, and the hand smudge and the marker smudge as well did great. But as I said before, I probably wouldn't purchase these again to use in my bullet journal or general doodling, just because of the fact that tip on the top gets depressed, and once it gets depressed like that, I really don't want to use it anymore. Ghosting, really not bad at all compared to the rest of them. I almost can't even tell, so it really is good for that. So the last pin is going to be the precision pin, and again, this came with more sets, but the ones that I have left are the 01, 03, and 08. These pins worked pretty well, and the biggest issue that I had with them was the waterproof. They didn't stand up to that very well. Hand smudge and marker smudge, they did good. So again, not a pen that I would probably use for watercoloring, but smoothness and everything and just writing with them, they're a good fine liner pen, and I think they work well for that. The ghosting was one of the worst ones, so if you're really big about being concerned about ghosting in your bullet journal, then I probably wouldn't utilize that marker. Overall, the biggest disappointment was the Unipin fine liner. I got these and I really wanted to love them, but because the waterproof, which they're supposed to be, did not hold up to it, that was a problem for me. When it comes to the hand smudge, the majority of the pins did really well. I would say with the Pentel Energel being surprisingly good for a gel pen, and the Pigma Micron being one of the worst ones. I was also very impressed with just the Faber-Castell overall. Testing with the mild liner with some of these pens was really interesting, and I was surprised that the Muji Pin was one of the worst ones. I figured it would have been the gel pen, the Pentel Energel, not the Muji Pin, but it's really been interesting to me to test all of these. The ghosting was pretty surprising. I think one of the worst ones was the Pentel Energel, and some of that I wonder if it wasn't secondary to it being over that black line. So this has shown me that I love the Pentel Energel pen for just general handwriting, and the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen is still going to continue to be one of my favorite pens to use in my bullet journal to do my layouts. I am a little concerned over time as to how the pen is going to last and if the tip is going to get depressed like the graphics did. I think it would be pretty cool if the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pens would come in a little satchel like the graphics did, but I'd rather pay more for a pen that lasts longer. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you have any comments, let me know below. Otherwise, have a great day of bullet journaling. Thanks.